Good morning. We've just had a reading from John talking about the encounter with Jesus and his disciples on the shore of Lake Tiberias, the Lake of Galilee. But before that we had two encounters that help us to see things in context. We had Jesus sending to his disciples, the frightened disciples, those who were scared to go out, frightened, didn't know what was happening. They didn't know whether they were going to see Jesus, didn't know anything. And they were given this message by the women: don't be afraid, he has risen. Go and tell his disciples and Peter, he is going ahead of you into Galilee, and there you will see him. And then we have the reading from Luke, where Jesus is led away to the high priest. This nightmare scenario, and Peter standing at a distance, terrified, doesn't know what to do with himself, sees a charcoal fire, and he goes to sit by it to warm himself against the night. And a young servant girl says to him, this man was with him. And he says, woman, I don't know him. And he denied Jesus on two other occasions. Another charcoal fire, another place. This time it wasn't just Peter by the fire. There was Jesus, and there was 7 of his friends. There were 7 of them, and they all knew Peter very well. Perhaps they knew Peter a bit too well for his liking. 7 of them. And for all the world, Peter would have wished that he could be with Jesus alone to deal with what he needed to say to Jesus. He didn't really want to have these people around, but it was important that this conversation was held alongside the others. Isn't it interesting? Jesus didn't use the special name that he had given to Peter in the early days of their ministry. Peter, you are Peter, the rock, and on this rock I shall build my church. No, he didn't call him Peter. He got back to the basics. Simon, son of John. I suppose all of us have some sort of image of ourselves that we would like others to see. In Peter's case, it was Peter the rock on which I will build my church. But that wasn't the full story of Jesus, of Peter. Yes, he loved being Simon the rock, but when push got to shove, he denied and abandoned Jesus. You see, Simon couldn't become the rock that Jesus talked about. He couldn't become the rock again until his sins had been dealt with by Jesus. Peter was a name, an image, a reputation. But Jesus didn't want a name, an image, a reputation. Without forgiveness, Simon would always be just an effective has-been who relied on old stories of those good old days when amazing things happened when we were with Jesus. And Jesus asked Simon 3 times if he loved him. They were really uncomfortable questions, especially in the friends who had looked up to Peter. Jesus' response to Peter's answers, "You know that I love you," were 3 instructions. Feed my lambs. Take care of my sheep. Feed my sheep. These were words of recommissioning for Peter. They set the course of his future life, to be the shepherd, to be the pastor of those who would follow Jesus, to give his life for the cause of Jesus, and to encourage, to bless and to disciple those who were going to follow on from that point onwards. And Jesus told Peter that he would suffer and ultimately die for the cause of Jesus Christ and the kingdom of God. Once Peter had been restored by Jesus, his first reaction to ask, "Well, what about him? What about John?" And in a very lovely way, Jesus told him to mind his own business. The relationship between a person and Jesus is personal. It is holy ground, and it is so intimate that it is between you and Jesus only. It can't truly be known by anyone else, just you and Jesus. So, if your life is committed to Jesus, do all that you can to nurture that relationship, and you will grow in love with him. Perhaps you're at a place right now where you know you need to be right with Jesus. You need to have this relationship with him. It may be that you've had bad experiences of church, of religious people, of rejection. All of that is wrong, and it's not about Jesus. Jesus longs for you to reach out to him in faith and to feel the presence and the open warmth of his acceptance of you, just as you are. If you know that you are a sinner, just as I certainly know I am a sinner, then you're in exactly the right place to come to Jesus. You are fully qualified as a sinner to come to Jesus just as you are, because he loves you and he will put his arms out and he will take you as his own. It could be you've been in church for many years. You've always done the right thing. But now you're running on empty. The only way to move forward is to admit that you can't do this on your own. You've tried, you've worn yourself out trying to do all the right things, and you've exhausted everything. If that's you tonight, this morning, I challenge you to reach out, to ask Jesus to come into your life, restore to you the joy of your salvation if you have already given your life to Jesus. If you haven't, just still invite Jesus into your life. Ask him to fill you with his love, with his peace and his joy. Fill him with newness of life. It is never too late until it's too late. God bless you.